Alright, everyone, we are back with the next episode of the Raiders Rambles. I am Joel, your chief host of the show, and joining me as always is none other than my co host, Noble.
What a beautiful cold ass morning it is, despite it looking nice and sunny outside.
That is just the biggest mood down here, even up here on the mainland. Sun, but it's all just very, very windy. Not today though. I did have a couple of coolish days, so we're on track to getting winter.
Yay, winter! Well, in America, it's coming into summer, so barbecue in the backyard with a sheet of metal.
Total opposite for us up here.
Yeah, and speaking of joining us, we also have our usual Orange Doggo, Evira.
Hello! Happy Friday, guys, or wherever it might be in the world you're listening to. So it is technically into spring already up here in America, but I would say over the last roughly 2 months, we've only had maybe 1 to 2 actual nice days per week when it's sunny. Like today, the sun peeked out for like 5 minutes, and now it's all gloom and cloudy and black. So it's been like this for a while.
You're not in the wrong country, like friggin' Bongland, because that is like forever gloom.
I don't know. For us, it's getting warmer, but very slowly. And I feel like when summer hits, like in June or something, it's just going to be like 100 degrees like every day, because we really haven't had too much of spring up here. But for you guys, like in the southern hemisphere, now it's getting cooler. Even though it's super sunny, yeah, the wind could make it feel like a lot colder. Perfect weather for fursuiting, though.
Oh, you gotta tell me twice. Got a couple of things planned out for the big, super busy, super eventful June and July that's happening up here. So
nice.
We'll see how that goes. And is it bad? And it's bad enough. I have not worn my fursuit all year to this point, to the middle of May.
Oh, buddy! Now that the weather is getting cooler and more. Even like the wind does help for sure. Like that's the breeze can be a blessing if you're in full suit for sure. So, we'll see.
Oh, I know. I think it's time I dusted it off and brought them out again at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
card trick.
Maybe yes, maybe no, and then yeah, but definitely involves a car trip to where I need to go. All good though.
Groovy.
So, we've got a couple of things to start with, but first, a little follow-up thing from last week regarding the whole Star Fox thingy. Here's a little funny little post that's may or may not have come from the Nintendo page of Star Fox for the Switch 2.
Oh, allegedly from Nintendo directly?
Nah. But this is a thank you, Nintendo. Very cool from the Nintendo page, supposedly, allegedly, or maybe it's not. Anywho, intense space combat. Hop into your R-Wing, a high-performance aerospace fighter, and use laser blast to take down opposing forces. You can also break in midair to get enemies off your tail. No pun intended. And of course, pull off barrel rolls to defend against incoming fire. And the next line is what we got scratching my head with. Protection against perverse enjoyment.
Sorry.
Protection against perverse enjoyment. The animal characters are not intended to provide sexual gratification. The Switch 2 console will shut down if it detects that the player is becoming aroused. Excuse me? What? Oh, this ain't real. No way. What the bunkers? What are they talking about?
Sorry, this is just absolutely gold. I seriously hope it's real, but unfortunately, I do not possess a Switch 2 to be able to check this out. Anybody out there is or does, can they attempt it?
No,
Yes,
I think they
please-
you know what they
link to
did? They did the whole classic add that stuff in using the inspect element thingo, which is probably most likely my bet.
Oh,
Yeah, like
Well-
you fire up a browser, you go to a page, put in inspect, play with inspect element, add that in, bam. Suddenly, it's convincingly real.
see, I'd be more curious about how they figured out the player was becoming aroused, quote unquote, by playing the game.
Accelerometer?
It's the Switch 2. They gotta have something, right?
Well, I'm assuming it's going to have some way of detecting the actual person's pulse. So, there's that.
Oh, that could be possible, actually. Oh, that's spooky to think about. Like one of those.
Well, no, you
watch-
get watches with that stuff in it anyway, so whatever.
But you can
I
also
swear there's so much I can pull into this.
by just playing a game itself that's like action packed or scary or something. So your heart rate could increase then too.
Yeah, then the console just shuts off because of it. It'd be really hilarious. I mean, could you imagine how pissed off gamers would get if every time they had an adrenaline rush while playing, the game just shut off?
Yeah, right. It's like you're too horny for this. Shut it down. Like, no, I swear I'm not.
No,
Oh,
no,
man.
no kidding. But come on, this is all thingos, man. But still, I still cannot get over the whole, the whole reaction to the release of Star Fox with that redesign.
Well,
And all
from what
that.
I've seen with Star Fox, apparently a lot of people don't like the new design.
Yeah, I think it's goofy. Like we said, the whole thing, the proportions of them mixing realistic animal with that sort of thing is a bit too goofy.
Yeah, when it gets too realistic, but not realistic enough, that's kind of when it falls down into that uncanny valley situation. Right? Like, it's not cartoonish enough to make it endearing, right? Or like relatable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but regardless, though, I think there are still some other characters every single other furry wants to get the live action treatment, to say the least.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Uh-huh. But as that stands, though, we'll see what happens. What once they develop, or if because I don't think they're at the stage that they can go and take the design back to the drawing board, like they did with Sonic the Hedgehog. Because remember that one? They complained about it enough, and the movie makers went back to the drawing board and redid it. Now with Star Fox, it's just kind of there. So yeah.
Right.
Anywho, yeah. So anywho, we'll see what happens there, and now we're gonna go and get to the main items of this week's show. Let's start with this one here, Kickstarter. Kickstarter policy change over adult content. Comic creators affected. Now, a lot of them, this will only affect a subset of people who are into that into making comics of such a nature that they've complained, but that's just the thing, isn't it, though? So basically, Kickstarter's new mature content rules tighten limits on adult projects, with comics singled out for stricter page standards.
So are they just talking about advertising here? like you can't just post on the page like open uncensored genitalia or stuff like that, or
Right, like
like
explicit acts,
what?
imagery, like that sort of stuff. Like you can't use it to advertise your comic, to advertise your comic for crowdfunding, with that sort of thing. And it's and
Hmm.
and that's the
Okay.
sort of thing
Well,
that
we
they're
have the
trying to
article
clean up.
summary.
And
Well,
I'll
the
have to wonder
Kickstarter's
how
new
quickly
mature
they're going to
content.
tumble out of this policy.
I don't know, man. It seems like they're vague enough where they're going to try to stick with this. Even if it does, again, every change of policy does harm indie creators, even if they're trying to look good for their advertisers. The thing is, people will gravitate toward places that allow indie creators to express themselves to the best of their ability with less censorship as possible. I thought companies knew this.
Right, but I think, or maybe you think that there might be another external factor at play, such as a payment processor deciding that they want to play the whole "we are a clean Christian payment processor," sort of angle, just to
Yeah,
save our reputation, the same way that Visa, Mastercard did with with Japanese.
yeah, that went
That's
well for them,
true.
didn't it?
Yeah, and now the Japanese decide, they decide to make their own payment processors for certain stuff, just so you can get, their fair share of Japanese lewds.
Exactly. Just get around that stuff. Because that's what the people want, and supply and demand. I mean, that's capitalism. So it said that creators blame Stripe's payment rules for the crackdown. Warning: Kickstarter faces backlash, confusion, and lost revenue.
Yeah, that's the point that I was also getting at. Like maybe,
Yeah.
that's the
Didn't
same thing too. Like regarding.
Didn't Trump turn around and say that payments can go through as long as it's legal?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he's basically making it a point to that you cannot debank somebody for politically motivated reasons. And I think even these crowdfunding things are also very very guilty of that too, like taking down projects for politically motivated reasons, even though there was nothing objectionable about said content.
Well, I mean, to some people,
that's
anything's objectionable, but that's them.
Well, just because something is adult oriented doesn't mean it has anything to do with politics per se. If it's left or right,
per se, no. What this is like,
Not
what they're trying to do here is like put guidelines on explicit content and that sort of thing.
Well, let's see what they say here. So it says Kickstarter. Oh wait, scroll up a little bit. So Kickstarter has published a new quote-unquote mature content creator guide that lays out clearer rules for crowdfunded projects involving adult themes, including, now this is all the things that it includes, comics, art books, photography collections, and intimacy-related products, and states that it is intended to help its creators avoid having projects flagged or ejected during review. So the document states that Kickstarter has, quote unquote, a long supported, bold, boundary pushing.
Yeah, a boundary pushing,
Boundary,
well,
creative.
Yeah, well,
that's what they were kind of known for, right? So we get that. But they also don't want to have, like, I guess, explicit pornography on there. I'm not.
No. Like something that's like only, complete, like the comic book or whatever is completely, entirely made up of erotic stuff. And people are also a bit confused as well, like regarding all of this stuff. Like even some of the people were saying, what does spicy mean? What does erotic mean? You state that fiction/comics projects that fall into those categories are allowable, yet you also state that depictions of sex are not allowed in any form. However, sex is exactly what erotic and spicy material is. You cannot state that both are allowable while also saying that both are banned.
Like I said, I wonder just how many like pornography quote unquote artists are doing like uploading their photography collections to Kickstarter. I'm sure there's people out there that are doing that because the boundaries were so laxed. But when it comes to indie creators making like animations and stuff, that does it could kind of hinder their advertising too, because what does spicy mean? What does erotic mean per se? It depends on a lot of it is subjective per se. But like we know what explicit porn is, right?
Oh, pretty much. But does everybody else understand the concept?
Yeah, I
You
mean
would
the
think.
guidelines are a bit, I've just had to read through it quickly, and it's more, it's more like they can allow, spicy, sexy, nude stuff, but that's done very, very, tastefully, or like, or for scientific reasons, like, like you'd find in an anatomy book.
Yeah, the other downside is that there's a lot of fetish material that to someone who isn't familiar with it would just seem like normal.
That is true. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I can see that. But that would be more subversive than anything. It's like you're trying to hide some kind of adult explicit intentions while coming off as something
Yeah.
else.
Now, there's a couple other things too, reactions regarding all of this from other people that I want to read as well. Okay, here's one for a well-known furry ARCR, Crick. With Kickstarter no longer being an option I could explore for my book, I hope one of the furry publishers out there will like it enough to publish it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah, good luck with that. I mean, of course, you do that, whatever inside the fandom, of course, 100%. You're going to guarantee that they're going to be frothing at the mouth for furry lewds.
I really have to ask whether or not any of these companies remember the whole Tumblr fiasco.
Tumblr
Right, regarding the
yeah,
whole, Tumblr banning, adult content.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when Tumblr decided to completely change their policy. They lost like over 50% of their content creators just in that move alone.
Yeah,
Very
and a lot of
devastating.
people went to not Telegram, sorry,
Twitter.
Twitter at the time.
Yeah.
And Twitter became one giant cesspool.
That's what happened.
Hey everyone, Drake's here.
Hey,
Well,
Drake.
we decided to show
How you
up.
doing, buddy?
Then again, there was a part of time where we kind of wanted you on the show, but never got around to getting that.
Yeah, it's all good. We got our resident dragon back.
Yep.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm all the way in Florida right now.
That's the good place, isn't it?
Not in Orlando. No one here speaks English, apparently.
Hey, at least it's something.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Here.
you got the palm tree. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You at least if you're in Florida, you're gonna at least have the dream, though. So at least there's that.
Well, we have the daily thunderstorms here.
All right.
Is that a rain thing? Because no, I think Florida's mostly nice. Yeah, it does rain a lot because it's like more tropical environment.
It's a rainforest, but anyhow, continue on. I think you guys were talking about furry porn artist.
No, it's not so much for in some ways, kind of, but with crowdfunding projects like Kickstarter basically banning, tamping down on mature content, then of course the furries are gonna get irritated because they can't draw, they can't crowdfund, here's my furry comic that's full of yiff and stuff.
So
Well, if they
I'm
can
gonna have
keep
to
it
ask.
clean, it probably has a better chance of passing. That's the reason why I prefer to keep everything clean.
Well, there is a time and a place for certain adult aspects, like when you're making things like comics, for example. This is something long-standing that a lot of furries have done for years, using Kickstarter to fund projects to make things. For example, I'm not sure if JSON Effects has done this, making Amorous, but that's a pretty well-known adult, explicit kind of content. But something similar to that, other creators could use Kickstarter to make that project, and it really hasn't been a big deal. But it seems like now it's more about advertising than anything.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of of something going on too, like especially with payment processes becoming puritanical more so than anything else. Just to cover their own backsides.
I've heard of similar stories with PayPal's actually restricting certain types of creators in the past, but I don't think it got anywhere.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, this is another one here. Okay, here's another reaction to this I think you're going to love hearing. This is funny. Rose Solarian writes, Kickstarter officially banning adult content now. Knew this was coming, but it still sucks to have yet another part of the internet I've been explicitly evicted from. Digital gentrification is exhausting. I truly believe that the only way we'll ever have a platform that will protect sexual expression is if it's created and run by queer trans sex workers of color who never ever sell the business to anyone, no matter how much money they're offered.
I'm gonna call bullshit on that.
Is that a troll? Is that a troll comment? That's not real. No way. He meant that. Like
No, it's the guy basically put it up on Blue Sky.
All right, that makes sense.
I mean,
yeah.
you technically could start your own website and set up like WordPress and start taking, subscriptions and stuff like that.
Right.
It's not hard.
You start.
but-
That's exactly what one person does. Autumn Wolf on Blue Sky writes, launching my own erotic crowdfunding platform called Lickstarter.
Lickstarter?
I can see that actually getting quite
that's a
popular
good
and
name.
working.
Kickstarter. Oh, goodness.
Hey, it's an open market. I give them credit.
Well, when he said digital gentrification, that was a buzzword I should have picked up on. And then they went into the whole, socialist, leftist kind of buzzwords. But it does seem like corporatism, for some reason, is just not willing to either take risks or, turn down certain advertisers on their platform because the content really does sell. And, people are interested in that. That means they would have to.
It may be an issue with the insurance, because when I was looking up for general liability insurance, one big no-no is that I can't be a V-blogger to do what I do. And that's what they said when I say, and it could just be because there are certain things that they don't want to get involved in related.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff too, like payment processors trying to put these safeguards in just for that sort of thing. And
with that being said, it doesn't mean you could find private groups of people and things like that. That's what creates things like these events we have, from fur cons to music events and stuff like that.
Right.
It just takes a lot of money
so
and risk.
now the problem is, where the heck are they all going to move now? Patreon to do this sort of thing, or
I should
or
read
whatever,
up Patreon's
GoFundMe,
TOS, because I think
Indiegogo.
they're allowing it.
I personally would love to find out someone doing research on how businesses get started, they get popular, and then they decide to turn around and kick off a bunch of their customer base.
Right, like
Yeah.
at the point where where the said business hits critical mass. That usually happens.
The critical mass
that was
theory.
Well, no, that was like YouTube, if you remember. Like when it first started, like in 2008, 2007, YouTube was like the Wild West of the internet. You could find anything on there. And one of the biggest mistakes was allowing other people to report videos that they deemed offensive or inappropriate. So they didn't have to do much of the heavy lifting or any of the work. They just left it up to the Karens that wanted to call the manager and ban videos because
at that
mean hate.
I mean, at a certain point, YouTube ended up getting bought out by Google, and I guess the rest just kind of wrote itself. Again,
Yeah, used to
it
be
got
the
to
one.
critical mass, got big enough, and somebody eyed it because it was big business. So yeah, and then of course you get what you get now. Anywho, but I suppose that's just kind of what it is, though. I think we're just all sitting here laughing that furries are blown out because they cannot, you know, crowd crowdfund their nudie projects as easy as they think it would be.
Well,
It's, I just wonder where they're gonna go, because this definitely did dissuade many furry artists that are not like they use Kickstarter, and at one point they
Patreon.
were
Usually,
free
the
to.
other thing you can see is that they use Patreon as well a lot.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
there's a completely separate sort of area I can bring up. But in the wares community, there used to be a website called RapidShare, and it was notorious for hosting everything. At one point, they decided, oh, we're going to turn around and we're going to destroy all the stuff where it's, piracy is being used. Kind of like what, no, Mega got shut down, sorry. So anyway, RapidShare implement this policy and their customer base just basically plummets.
well, there's
I think they're
Rapid
still
Share,
around
Mega
today, but
Uploads. There was a lot of them out there, and they changed their policy throughout the years. Of course, there's
Yeah.
still some of those sites that are cough cough Pirate Bay that's still actually active, from what I can tell.
For
yeah,
when
but they're not
for
hosting
when
data.
you even can get all that stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I can't wait to see some massive corporation, get built up to the point where they just make one policy decision and it just kills it for everyone. Even the legitimate
we've seen.
customers.
I think we've seen it a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Facebook,
Alright.
Twitter, all of it.
All right. So, while on the same kind of note, we're with big business doing other big things, we're going to move on to the next item, and this is a bit of a different turn. Again, we're not doing the whole payment processing stuff, but okay, here we go. Here's a different turn we're going to take. Oh God. Hasbro wants to fill Dungeons and Dragons with universes beyond crossovers too. I'm begging for a crumb of original Dungeons and Dragons storytelling, but it looks like all I'll get is more Rick and Morty spin-offs.
Hey, I like
for Star
Rick and
Trek.
Morty.
Or even like the Marvel universe too. Like they're going down that route too of like multiple universes where anything can happen, any story could be told, and it's all canon and it's all
Well,
makes
that's
sense.
the difference between when it comes to storytelling. There's two types that are common in the industry. One is cinematic and one is episodic.
Right,
Episodic
but this
is
is
kind of like Rick and Morty.
but what we're dealing with is what Hasbro is basically turning their big super popular games and stuff, especially card games and the tabletop game, and adding and wanting to making a business case for adding stuff from other intellectual properties into it. Magic the Gathering
Yeah.
been doing this a lot for like the past couple of years.
Like
recently
I can't imagine Spider-Man fighting the Shivan Dragon in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Oh, it's happened already.
It's kind of
Spider-Man is in, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is in, Final Fantasy,
Exactly.
Lord of the Rings, Fallout, Assassin's Creed. I could name
Oh,
quite a
boy.
few of them, but
Well, look, D&D's had the problem where in the last couple of years they've lost a significant amount of money by pissing off the community. So they need to do something in order to try to, rake in the dollars. And I'm guessing this is basically it.
And that's the kind of thing they're doing. Like, you can say what you want about, the mishandling of stuff, Dungeons and Dragons Beyond 5th edition, all of that. But, they're trying, but the CEO is trying to go, put in Dungeons and Dragons with Universes Beyond the same way that Magic is doing in a kind of way.
doing the same thing, different universes.
Yeah. So it's not so much that it's not the storytelling element that they're really doing here. Like, I mean, granted, you could, in Dungeons and Dragons, you could probably make a campaign where Marvel characters suddenly show up, for example.
Sure, right? They opened up a portal from the MCU and they just popped in, and they're like, "Oh boy, now we gotta go fight."
Right, and then suddenly the sound of a
Titans.
mysterious portal come here. Hearing a noise, you investigate a thing, and then you see a couple of mysterious figures with outfits that you're not familiar with, never seen before, emerge.
It's a real
Yeah.
shame Power Rangers still isn't a thing because they'd probably want to do a crossover as well.
Like that actually, yeah. With all like the goofy villains, when you have like Frodo and like the Lord of the Rings, like they could probably build their own game around that instead of having to be integrated into Magic the Gathering. Like they could make their own entire game based on that, and they have, of course. There's been all kinds of, even a card game too, but they don't.
Here's the thing, even other card games, like even the other properties too have their own card games. Like Marvel has the Marvel Rivals card game, Marvel, not Marvel Rivals, but
right?
Marvel Snap. Final Fantasy has its own card game.
Yeah, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that. Yeah, of course. It's just to combine them all in the same universe, even if it's like the multiverse or whatever they try to like tell people. I would say it does come down to a cash grab. And for like actual fans that are into nostalgia, sure, they do hit the buttons of nostalgia where it's like, oh, I'm playing my favorite game and I get to use cards for like my favorite movie, even if it's completely different from the planes of Dominaria.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good way of getting, I'll say that much. It's a good way of getting, fans of those specific franchises like Final Fantasy people playing MTG and so forth and so forth. And I guess in the
Like
case of
casting
Dungeons and Dragons, like again in the case of Dungeons and Dragons, how do you think they'll handle this? Like they'll make a new, they'll make whatever, like, and add a new whatever, like a 6th edition introducing universes beyond characters and so forth and so forth. Maybe, right?
Perhaps, yeah. I just wonder how many of the executives like have actually played these games or know the lore and the history, or in general are just like really passionate about the games that they want to sell and create. Because that's a big part of it. It's not just about the money. Like you have to know what you're getting into when you want to sell this to people. You have to be passionate about the game. Like you have to be a player, like know about, or like a fan of the movies or the literature or anything really like that. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Like if you're trying to sell this to the masses, but you don't know what the heck you're doing.
There's
right?
also another point too that people are concerned about, like what happens when you add in these characters, like what happens to the spirit of, the Dungeons and Dragons universe
All right,
so
let's
forth.
hold up on that for a bit.
Yeah,
the crossover is going to be something that's going to be defined in lore.
That's the thing that we are going to be curious about. Like, Magic the Gathering handled this in a way where it's not canonical, but they just printed cards, artwork, and all of that in the spirit of MTG and so forth. So it's not, there's no story like written for when, like, the Marvel characters come into MTG. It's, not canon, but they are, like, the cards are all legitimate.
It's legitimate for the game in the real world, but when it comes to like the history and lore of the actual world building, I don't see it being a shard of.
It's not. They never released
No,
a
it's
canonical story for, like, when Lord of the Rings or Final Fantasy came out for MTG, so no. And the thing is, with Dungeons and Dragons, like you had, they can add these universes beyond stuff, and then people can brew up their own campaign featuring them. What's there to
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's cool to like do the whole campaign thing and stuff, but
I
When
just
it
find
comes
it
to
interesting that Hasbro's interested in buying the franchise because I guess they're not that means a lot of companies are buying each other out in the last couple of years, I've noticed, or at least
Yeah,
trying to rescue ones that are going under too.
right. They're trying to consolidate and they're trying to fit. I get that sort of thing.
Didn't
And
Hasbro
then
do
again, like it's
something
a
with
big
like
thing that
My
we're
Little
seeing as
Pony
well,
back
like
then?
with big entertainment, like how Disney's basically scooping everything up and so
Yeah, they're
forth.
scooping stuff up too as well. I saw.
Yeah,
Someone's,
what was that about My Little Pony? Did you say they? Well,
yeah,
Hasbro.
I remember they had
hang on.
something. There was a big connection with them for the last half a decade, and then I guess they're scooping up more other franchises now.
Well,
Ah,
Hasbro's kind of they decided to go woke with My Little Pony, and things didn't exactly go so well for them. I mean, it's still around, but nowhere near what it used to be.
speaking of, you know what Hasbro's got another big license of that people are annoyed with? Harry Potter.
Yeah, there's that too.
Oh, the transphobic author. Fucking retards.
She's a pro-feminist woman author. I've heard they call her a TERF.
Yeah,
Like,
but that point is, that aside, they had the license, and I'm not sure if we're going to see, Harry Potter and Magic the Gathering or D&D or whatever have you.
see, the thing is, like with Magic the Gathering, the mechanics are so based and like they're structured in a way where other characters from other franchises could integrate into them seamlessly, more or less.
Mhm.
You know, it would make sense, like for a game to operate like Magic, but not like be part of that universe. To like
Yeah,
pay
I
your
getcha.
money, stuff like that.
I getcha. And it's just a bit of a cautionary thing too, like considering, you know, a lot of people, what people really want in Dungeons and Dragons in some ways, like, there are people who want, lore, original settings, new, campaigns and all that, because, being a
Yeah.
dungeon master is a very big and popular thing there.
Well, okay, look, this would probably be good for some people out there. So if they kept D&D like mainline as just D&D, fine,
Mhm.
great. But if you want to have a campaign where you bring in a character from another franchise that's official, fine. But don't keep it as a like lore, as in like
Yeah,
mainstream lore. Have it as something side off. This would allow at least the companies who have the rights to whatever characters, like Marvel, so Disney would decide how Spider-Man can interact with a party, whether he's like, permanently a part of the group or if it's just someone you come
yeah.
across.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I think you're probably stepping into the classic D&D era, which is going to be behind us a bit more, and then the new and improved version will probably be around the corner. That's generally what happens after about 20 years.
I
So
could
I
imagine
remember
the
D&D
Muppets.
and Dungeon Masters back in high school, and that's back in the '02 era.
Who would like
So
to see the Muppets get into official D&D stuff? Yeah, like have an
Ooh.
official book that you could play
crossover,
or play school.
crossover.
Miss Piggy's in the D&D campaign, and Kermit. What the heck? That'd be so goofy.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
What about Star Trek? An actual proper Star Trek crossover book.
I'm actually wondering which direction they're going because they have a new series out not too long ago, if I remember.
Oh, that got shit canned.
Oh, got shit
They should
canned.
probably
Yeah.
stick to their own thing.
Oops.
Not
But no,
Crossroads.
seriously, could you imagine it? Starting off as a starship and basically running around.
There's a couple of things around the corner, so not sure, but there's a few other things going on in the series area. but I'm a little bit behind in the entertainment biz.
Trust me, you're not missing much.
Has it changed?
Yes.
Well, the mainstream stuff, it's gotten worse, but I'm finding a lot of interesting movies coming out. I was watching something on YouTube yesterday, and let's just say the new Spider-Man's choice is interesting.
Hmm.
I can't believe it.
I guess that's just the thing then. Still, I'd say we'll see what happens, and now we'll just see. Maybe with any hope, they actually they actually handle this delicate issue right, rather than just flying it all in just to introduce new prospective fans to Dungeons and Dragons through other properties.
Dungeons and
Without
Dragons meets My
and they
Little
probably
Pony.
won't know what the spirit of D&D is.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Mhm.
And I'm sure for like the nostalgic fans that have been playing the game for forever, they would definitely appreciate that decision.
Mm. Right. Now then, we have the big thing of the week, which is to say a new movie is going to be coming up, and it's reminiscent of a few big missteps that have been done lately. It's an adaptation of the famous book Odyssey. Famous.
Yes, the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Yes,
Written
the old classics by
2000
Homer.
Mhm.
Yep, and now
And they're gonna make
Christopher Nolan
movie.
has the reins to the Odyssey, and he's apparently focusing on being so historically accurate, and yet there are a few problems about this. So, headline: Christopher Nolan says the Odyssey can't have an orchestra because they didn't exist in ancient Greece, but rap, race swaps, and modern dialogue are fine.
Oh,
Hang on, so
so
they're
they're
not having Italians in the movie as actors?
No, this is not so much about ancient. Look, that's about ancient Rome and that Greeks, more like.
Oh,
Should be
And
clear
who
they're
are
going to have
they,
Greece is
Greeks.
still a country, forgot.
who are they race swapping? Is like the main character? They're gonna make them what now?
Make them all
Okay.
German.
So, Helen of Troy is going to be recast. So Helen of Troy, in the old movie, like we got Diane Kruger played as her in the movie Troy, or if I believe it, I
Right.
can't remember. And now Lupita Nyong'o is going to be playing, Helen of Troy in this depiction of Odyssey.
Wait a minute. So the one on the right, she's gonna be playing someone from Troy?
Yeah,
Helen?
of Troy. She's going to be playing Helen of Troy.
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't
Why
make
would
any
they
sense
cast her?
because, ancient Greek descriptions of Helen repeatedly emphasize features associated with pale skin and lighter hair. Homer referred to Helen as white-armed, while later Greek writers such as Hesiod or Sappho described her with terminology associated with fair or golden hair.
Okay, so fair skin and golden hair, and they cast an
white-armed.
actress that is the opposite of that. Right, exactly. So
Yeah, the short black hair sort of completely ignores the historical sense.
looks like more of a modern style with the curls and stuff. But if I saw that this character and you were to ask me, what historical figure does this look like? I would have no idea what you're referencing. Like, she doesn't look like Helena because she's not. At least not depicting it properly. So, okay.
Yeah. A couple of things too. Like the historical element of this is just being. I mean, that's like one big massive strike or red flag against historical accuracy. Again, so he's saying or maybe like there's something more to it because they're saying, they're not going to use orchestral music in the movie because it didn't exist back then.
Okay, well, it kind of did, not to the degree that they think it is, but they had string instruments and choirs and stuff.
And the thing is, it's so weird because like one of the guys who said, said that the whole thing was basically analogous to, modern music, modern rap. The whole story, the whole story telling.
Modern rap. Could you imagine like the ancient Greeks like rapping?
Oh no, not in friggin' Greek.
Nah, not gonna happen.
I can't believe I forgot about Greece.
It's very reminiscent of how they tried to make Cleopatra black, even though she was white from Greece. Like, yeah, she was actually a black queen. No, she wasn't. This is like that forced diversity that they keep on trying to do. And the result is most normal people respond to it negatively and then they lose money and then they wonder why. You're messing with history. That's the big problem that people just don't like in general. Am I wrong there, or
No.
I feel like general consensus?
Yeah, classics and history are history for a reason. And I remember we taught a lot of history in my K-12 to college era. And classics do stay a classic for a reason. People try to remake them. And unlike a cover song, it's always different every time.
Okay,
Now,
true.
another decision with the casting, I got a different article here, is that they've chosen to cast, is that it may not have been confirmed at this point in time, but they've chosen to cast make a very interesting casting decision for who will play Achilles, the Greek legend of old in the Odyssey. And they have chosen to cast Elliot Page to play Achilles.
Uh-huh. And can she portray this character properly, or is there some kind of underlying political nonsense
Right, there
going
might be
on?
another reason. I mean, of course, first in 2004, we had these two, one depicting Helen of Troy, one depicting Achilles, and then now we have like Black Helen of Troy and whatever this thing is as Achilles.
Yeah. Well, Achilles is a male god, right? He had like the little wings on his shoes, and or is that Hermes?
Hermes.
No. Okay.
Achilles' thing was
Achilles
his heel, but the point is,
That's what I meant. Yeah.
God, he's a hero.
So, but he's a male though.
Yes.
And so it's kind of weird that they would cast a female who thinks she's a male to play this character. I mean, it is acting, so it's all play pretend at the end of the day. So she's pretending to be a guy. I mean, I guess that makes sense for the casting. Is she a good enough actor? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, but I think this AI image is gonna sum it all up too. Someone made an AI image of Elliot Page opening
Really?
a pickle jar.
Hey, it's a pickle jar.
Oh no.
I like the Elon Musk comment underneath it. His
Yeah,
emoji.
he's just crying with laughter.
It's just so
It's like,
perfect because
oh,
they got
man.
so up in arms about this because of the whole, because Elon Musk made a lot of outrage about how they're adapting this classic.
Yeah, at this point, they're just changing the entire story. Like, make up your own characters at this point. It's so goofy.
Yeah, exactly.
how
Achilles.
they insert this stuff. But okay, what's the audience thinking about this so far? Like, is there any?
Okay, the audience is thinking. There's a couple of things too that they're thinking. here that they're thinking that the whole decisions for casting are all about getting, for being eligible for the Oscars, and there are some representation and inclusion standards to be eligible for them. So to win Best Picture at the Oscars, you need at least one non-white, non-straight / non-straight lead or significant role, at least 30% minor roles for non-white / non-straight people, at least 2 departments headed by non-white / non-straight people.
Wow, they've become really racist of late, haven't they?
This sounds like super racist, man.
boy.
Can you said non-blacks or like non-Hispanics? Yeah, we don't want any black people to be a part of this project. We only want like at least 50% white people. Like, this is so racist, man. How can they get away with this crap?
Well,
Kinda
one thing
reminds
I
me of
have
Pauline
noticed that
Hanson.
the entire acting community is slowly changing, so it's possible
I
that
hope.
the demographics are also changing with it, surprisingly. But I don't
No, I
know.
mean, I hope it's changing in a positive direction where people reject this blatant racism. Like, we have to have a certain amount of minority characters. Why? What does race have to do with anything? Like, at all? If you're a good actor, you're a good actor. Okay, cool. And you have to be cast for the job. Like, if you're playing a white character, you can't be race swapping that because that's just goofy.
Hey, like I
Still,
said,
this
I've always
hurts.
seen acting from the style of the person who's portraying the character. If you go back to the old Stargate series, and I remember the Teal'c character, we didn't care what color he was. He was just a cool guy to be around.
Well, technically, at that point, it was an unwritten rule to have someone black in the show.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me is that I don't know. I'm gonna mute myself in a second. I just don't know which direction it's going in central casting and the acting community. But
Look, back then, they more focused on trying to find someone that was actually decent. The way they're doing it nowadays, it's like, yeah, they don't actually care about the performance that's put on, just as long as the person meets the requirements that they're like spewing all over the place, which just it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's ideology based, and the audience recognizes that. Like, that's why there's so much backlash and rejection for this, because we're like, we want to consume a good story with well-written characters, not this
good
political.
storytelling, especially from indie communities, I'm starting to pick up on. Some of them are just out there to just write and just throw it out there and see what picks. And if they do a really good job, they do get picked up by the smaller networks like Netflix and all the other groups I've been told. So
Drake, the other thing is that Christopher Judge, who played Teal'c in Stargate,
yeah,
he wasn't unknown to Richard Dean Anderson, who's basically like the prop of the show. Christopher Judge was also on MacGyver. He was already connected with Richard Dean Anderson, and he knew a lot of the people who were working on the Stargate show itself. So him getting like into the show isn't anything special. It's just he's someone they knew. That's it. It's like the person who played Apophis knew the showrunner. And the only reason he got the job is because, like, yeah, he could pull off the act. That's it. It's not the way they're doing it now, which is they go out and they directly seek someone of, meeting this specific requirements, which is just fucking psychotic. They back in the 90s and that they actually picked actors who, could act.
or some that were just showing off on small gigs, and they like, we got to have you around type of deal because you're really into it.
Yeah, they usually actually hired people who were good at their job.
So
unlike nowadays.
Right. So I think I want. Sorry about this. Sorry about this all, but I want to actually preface something too that that we've seen lately, a couple of years back too, like when someone tried to adapt a movie based on history, and did not, and actually attracted the anger of governments. So, I mean, we all know this now to be Cleopatra, attracting the anger of the Egyptian government. Now,
yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Now imagine this though with Odyssey. How do you think the Greek government's going to react?
I seriously hope they go full woke and just piss off everybody in the country. I really want to see that happen.
Oh, so you're hoping that they actually approve of this and that they're so woke that they actually think this is totally true to their original Greco-Roman history?
No. I hope the studio goes full woke, and I hope anybody in Greece who looks at this is offended to the 10th degree.
Okay, yeah. Including the government. Yeah, I got you now. Okay. So like if the studio goes with this and most normal people are like, what the crap are you doing? Like,
Harris, the comment here, the last one that was posted. Joel, can you bring that up on screen?
In the 90s, Hershakul, in the 90s, they picked actors who could act or who were super hot. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they also had that too, but they also had actors who could act.
Yeah, remember when merit was a thing? That used to be cool.
Or at least good looking.
What happened?
But no, seriously, it would be really nice if another country could get pissed off at Hollywood again. Because they're claiming like diversity and all this other stupid nonsense, but yet they want to turn around and like, what was it back in 2020? Mulan? I mean, fuck, that pissed a lot of people off in China.
Yeah.
That was an interesting story. I don't know if they got any of it right, but Mulan was, yeah.
No, it's not getting it right. It's that they butchered it. Mulan 2020 was just completely butchered. But no, seriously. Okay, so it's Greece now. I wonder who's next. The Philippines or something?
No, I don't think they're gonna. The Asian countries are gonna be very, very guarded about their whole thing, about their whole history,
Middle East,
literature, and that sort of stuff. And I don't think Westerners could touch that very damn well.
Yeah, we've already shown that card.
Not the Middle East. They're not gonna go down that route for sure.
I think the next thing that they're gonna actually try they're gonna try the safe option next. The ancient Romans.
Oh, the Italians,
there's a lot of
please.
good stories from Romans and Greece in that era.
I mean, if you want a conquering race of no, seriously, if you want a conquering race of white pricks, you're basically going down the correct path.
Interesting.
Yeah, because honestly, I think they're gonna take the more well-known, ancient civilizations first, and they are gonna try with the more obscure stuff. So
yeah, at the end of the day, it really does all just come down to money and how much these companies think they will be making a profit from doing these radical decisions. I don't know if they even have normal people on their marketing team to tell them these are not good ideas. Like all the race swapping, the gender crap, like it's not a thing.
It's all the stuff like we got, the direct, the choices that were made for the director and the committee. Oh, God forbid, the decisions were made by committee.
Does anybody remember the fallout from Harry Potter?
Well, yeah, they made Snape black, and that has a whole slew of problems. I mean, we talked about that.
It's not the fact that he was black; it's the way he was presented in the photos for what the character's going to be, which is just no. It's supposed to be dark and brooding, not
Either way, it's just one of those things. But I suppose that's really all the time we've got for the show this week. So who'd like to wrap up with a quick short comment about the stuff that's happened?
Well, I guess I'll go first. When it comes to Star Fox, they do not have to try to make him look super realistic. I'm not sure if the Uncanny Valley technology is super there yet, but they could make him look pretty good. I think we just have to wait until something better comes along with that.
No,
And
I
of
think
course, when it comes to the whole,
you're right. Like
oh,
maybe it's like an artistic decision more than anything else when they try to adapt him in live action.
We'll just be
yeah,
glad they're
like
not
that's
cutting a
what
cow in
if
half.
they want to go that route. They're trying to like make a style that would be maybe they're testing the waters to see like if it's received well, but you know, neither here nor there, I suppose. And let's see, the whole Elliot Page or Ellen Page, the whole gender swapping with Hermes and casting a woman as him, that just doesn't make any sense to me, like at all. I'm sure most normal people would think the same way. I'm not a normal person. Not like we dress up as animals for fun. Like let's be real. But at least we're playing pretend and we know it. Uh, they don't care about like merit at all. They just want to do like your diversity hire check boxes. So that doesn't make a good movie or good content that people don't want to see, and you're going to lose a lot of money on it. So we'll see what happens with this, but I'm not going to be invested. Aside from that, it is still mid to late spring, and my flowers are still growing, but very slowly. So I'm just hoping that the weather increases more sunlight, hopefully, and my flowers will be blooming. Aside from that, I guess that's all I gotta say. So,
I guess I
Noble?
could. Yeah, I guess I could jump in and
Yeah, great. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, sorry about that. That right now there's a break in the noise background, so yeah, I've been following
we're good.
along with you guys, and yeah, the movie industry is changing a lot, and the way they cast stuff. I'm not terribly impressed, but then again, I haven't really kept up to date with some of the stuff popping up this summer. There's a few movies I might catch. And I'm also seeing a big change in technology shifts, so I'd like to keep a close eye on that before I go off here. But I'll leave the floor to Jolt again.
All right. Thanks. So, Noble, anything else to close up with?
I just think it's funny how Kickstarter's finally trying to kick out all the furries.
Not just them though, but other, other artists of like adult mature content.
D&D wanting to do the crossover. It could be fun just as long as they don't put it as like mainstream as something like on the side. And then with the whole Odyssey thing and the whole race swap, tell you what, let's take the movie Long Kiss Goodnight and let's race swap the main characters. And gender swap them too.
Well, you could probably try that with AI.
I'm sure people have.
I seriously can't wait until all the movies from the 80s and 90s literally get that whole fiasco going and it just collapses the industry. Can you imagine like some fat fuck turning around and playing the chick in the Long Kiss Goodnight?
Yeah.
Quick live comment before I wrap the show up. Friend Rick's Tiver Wolf says, I'm 25% Sicilian, but I'd be 100% offended by, say, anything other than an Italian actor, maybe a Greek, playing Julius Caesar.
Yahoo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. There's got to be some roles that have to be filled in correctly.
Yeah. Like if you made Julius Caesar like an Aboriginal Australian, like that would
Oh dear God, no.
make just saying.
No. They would make Julius Caesar an African man. Simple as that. Anywho, I suppose that's that, though. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, hope you enjoyed that as much as we did making it. You can find our episodes on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Louder FM, iHeartRadio, BitChute, and more. Well, that's all we got for the week. See you until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Duh.